out there? Okay. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February meeting of the East Hempfield Township Recreation Authority. Just a couple of things, remind everyone, Robert's Rules of Order will apply tonight. We'll be recording this for posterity, okay? And please direct any questions from the audience or Zoom to the chairman to be addressed, okay? Let's start the meeting by standing for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge. Pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. First item on the agenda this evening is we want to welcome a new member to the Recreation Authority, Doug Rhodes. Doug was approved by the East Hempfield Township Board of Supervisors at our last meeting. We welcome Doug, and at this point, Doug could give us a little bit, tell us a little bit about himself and
Sure. Thanks,
go from
Tom.
there.
Yeah, first of all, it's an honor to be here. I'm really looking forward to working with everyone and hopefully adding some contribution to the group. Member of Lancaster County since 1970, so Lancaster County is deep in my blood. Moved to West Hempfield Township back in 1986. So sorry for being across the border, just across the border, basically. But came to East Hempfield in 2019 when my wife and I decided to move into the Landis farm and the carriage home and find a retirement place. Course of the career, I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, I've been a sales representative for a good 40 some odd years within the food business, similar to what Tom's been through. Represented a lot of national brands over the course of that time. And the last 15 years of the career was representing private brand and Rite Aid. So been in various management positions, and, responsible for budgets and things like that. So trying to use some of that career experience in volunteer work such as the HOA treasurer, working with this church council, and now with the East Hempfield Authority. So I'm looking forward to that. I have two children who are married. Both are in locally, so very glad for that because between the two children, we have 5 grandchildren. The oldest of which now is 16 years old, just turned 16. She's now driving and she's a sophomore in high school at Penn Manor. So having a lot of fun in the retirement for sure.
Good. Okay, well, thanks, Doug. I'm sure you'll make a valuable contribution to our group here. Certainly as time goes on, but welcome. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, with that, we'll go to our standing reports, lease negotiation and real estate committee. Mr. Trump or Mr. Krimmel, anything to report out of your group at this point?
Not this month, not I know.
Not this month?
No, the only thing I would
Is
say
there-
is, we're getting the checks from Verizon.
Yes,
Those are coming.
yes,
Yeah.
they're steady.
And your work is done, Dan.
Well,
Pretty much.
unless they stop coming. Then we got more work to do, yeah.
Okay, well, good. Anything on the horizon that we should be addressing from a lease negotiating standpoint? If I might suggest, now that we have the front of the building rezoned the way we want it, like you guys to start thinking about possibilities, potential. We're going to move on to the next piece of this project. So I think, that's something I think you guys could start thinking about. We do have a spot on the lease negotiation committee. Is there anyone that wants to volunteer on this committee? Do have Doug?
Be glad to.
Okay. What's everybody think about that? Okay,
Fine.
Yeah.
everybody good?
Mhm.
We're all good with that? All right.
Yep.
Okay, Doug, so we'll put your name in there in ink and move on. But again, maybe if the current members of the committee could sort of bring Doug up to speed about what we're trying to do at the golf course in terms of generating additional income for the golf course, and some of the things that we have done over the last 2, 3, or 4 years since we've come into being. It would be good. All right.
I have one question for
Sure.
Daniel. Have you had any contact with Verizon regarding some additional carriers flashing onto the tower or no?
From what I recall from the original negotiations, their goal was to get set up and get Verizon working first. So from there, it'll be their option to add tenants, let's say. I think their expectations, though, that they weren't going to add anything within that first year, but after that,
Could happen. Okay.
they can do that, but it's kind of out of our hands if we can't go out and solicit stuff for that. That would be on them, just if they want, but yeah, their initial priority was getting themselves up and running, as that was the dead area.
Thank you.
Is it active now, the tower?
Yeah.
Anecdotal evidence? Has anybody driven on Knolt and Centerville and not had the call dropped?
Not dropping calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Big improvement from what I understand. Sounds good. Okay. Next up, we have Finance and Operations Committee, Dave, Mr. Lundy, and John. Anything to report tonight?
Just briefly, we met with Cornerstone a week or so ago. Had good interaction with them. They were amazing in how receptive they were to, showing some alternate arrangements and everything else. And the bottom line was what you see up there on the board is what the committee and staff attendees felt was the best location and orientation of the building. The darker brown building is the footprint of the existing barn, just to be shown for comparison. They're comparable in size. When we left the meeting, we were down to the point of, at the next meeting, Cornerstone was going to look at some options for interior layout that the staff had thought would be, viable to look at, and start some preliminary discussions about what, the exterior of the building looks like. Now, there is another meeting tomorrow with Cornerstone to develop the interior concept a little bit more. But I was very impressed with their ability to, react on the fly to some of our questions and concerns, and the cooperation that we got with them. So it was a very good meeting.
Ryan?
Well, if you look at the layout of the building, the bottom right corner, couldn't get it any closer because of fire regulations. To be able to get a fire truck through there, I believe it was 30 feet, give or take. And on the interior of the building, I believe Jim had asked for 2 offices, a conference room, 2 storage areas, and then just kind of like the front of house pro shop. So I think the meeting tomorrow, they're going to hash out what would make the most sense. We tried to get a cost estimate, just ballpark, that was difficult to get them to commit to any number. But the ballpark figure was, I think, between 1.5 to 2 million all in cost for this project. So as far as financing is concerned, I don't know that it's something that we can do strictly through our capital maintenance budget. We would likely have to do some sort of financing and then look at the financials going, projected out for the next 5, 10, whatever year term we can get from either financing through a bank or borrowing from the township, whatever is the most feasible option. So just want to make sure that before we get in too deep on the project, that everybody at least digests what we're looking at as far as a price tag.
Okay, I think that's an important aspect of this.
Tom, if you could speak into the microphone.
I think this is a important part of the process of this whole project. You know, as I understood it, we're looking at a 4,600 square foot building, right?
Mhm.
So, and it would, and again, I don't know a lot about construction. But I'm thinking new construction, $100 a square foot, $150 a square foot.
I think it was more than that.
You're talking prevailing wage.
Talking like 300 a square feet.
Yeah.
That'd be a safe number. Again, this is gonna be refined,
Okay.
and part of the study is
Yeah,
gonna be, they're gonna do a more detailed cost.
Dave, you'll have to
estimate at
speak
some
into the
point.
microphone so they can hear you on the tape.
That's all right. They're gonna do a more detailed cost estimate as part of, during the next phases to give us to hone in to see what we come up with. Once we finally get the interior resolved and the orientation and start looking at some of the site utilities as well, so.
Yeah, this is all within the contract of the designer at this point. And at the end of the process, we are going to have an estimate.
Yeah,
And
right.
then you make the decision, do we want to move forward and have it laid out in terms of bidding process?
Other important point I think we took away from the meeting was the timeline of the demolition to construction, which they said was roughly going to be about 10 months. So I think when you're looking at this project, there's no good time to do it. It's basically going to be a project for the off season and the golf season. So as far as timing, I mean, obviously the bidding process, the planning process and everything, but I think either way, whenever we get done with that and we decide we want to move forward, I don't think that there's a ideal time to start because it's going to be disruptive to, I think, Jim's peak season in one way or the other.
Okay.
Jim, do you have any comments on the meeting and your thoughts about the layout that you guys have presented?
Unfortunately, Jim is not home yet.
Okay.
We had a long day at the course and he is not home yet.
Okay.
The other thing I'll add is just from a preliminary basis, I was going to reach out to a couple of bank contacts that I know and just say, we're not asking for you to quote us on this, but what would something like this look like just to get kind of an idea of, if we're looking at financing, what are the type of terms a municipality versus, a company, an individual would be able to get, and what does that process look like as far as, paperwork or, what's involved in that, just to do a little research on that to see what the process might look like if we aren't going through the township.
Well, you're most likely going to need a guarantee from the township.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, yeah.
That makes it tax-free.
And then you probably want to look at a broker. We've used them in the past, and they'll go out and search the market and analyze if a bond is better or if it's just a straight bank loan,
Okay.
and then actually go out and get quotes.
Do you want someone from the committee to be the point person on that? Or is that something where one of the township individuals would be the point person on that?
Doesn't really matter. I mean, you guys do a short RFP and I think we used RBC. Bob, does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
As our broker, the last time we went after some large money.
Okay.
And at this point, it's too early. They can't tell you anything. You've got to get your numbers first.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the last project with them was the police building, I assume. They were,
I believe so, yes.
That's what I would think. So.
how much was that
Yeah.
cost?
The police building,
14?
4.5-ish million.
4.5. Okay, thank you, thank you. Anything else? Bob, you got any comment at this point?
No,
No?
I'm fine. I had a discussion with Jim with my concerns and
Any
That's
thoughts on the
satisfying.
layout? Is there, I don't know what happened to my screen. I'm just gonna go home tonight. It's just not working. Is there any concerns on the layout, or are we in the right path?
How, I guess, we have 3 offices.
2 in a conference room, I believe.
There was actually 3 offices on there. I
There-
don't know why we need 3. I questioned that.
I think they just reworked the conference room into a 3rd office. What the guy did on the computer was pretty impressive. He was able to change things rather rapidly while we were having the discussion. But to start, the 2 offices were smaller and he had a bigger conference room. And then what he did when we said we don't really need a conference room, he just made 3 offices more or less the exact same size, give or take.
And these obviously are locker rooms, right?
No locker rooms,
No locker rooms. no
just
showers.
bathrooms.
No locker rooms.
Men's and women's rooms, but no lockers. No.
With access within the building and from outside the building.
Yeah, the pro shop, when they close down, have to be very mindful of the doors and how those are secured. Because there's a lot of doors you have to secure at certain times.
Yeah, they wanted men's room and ladies' rooms open up longer.
Yep.
Than when the pro shop would be
Right,
open.
they'll have that.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Then we may want to put some locks on there that have timers that
That's
lock
what I
it
was
down.
thinking. While we're doing it, go the
Yeah.
security, the whole thing like we did here.
So this lower left-hand depiction will be looking onto the number 10T pretty much.
I think they
pro
wanted the
shop,
pro shop.
Yeah,
I think they wanted the pro shop and the offices looking out at the
Of the course.
1 and 10.
1 in 10.
so this would be the pro shop area.
Yeah.
Restrooms would be over here, offices back here, and then mechanicals.
And I guess can you see, I would assume you can, but can you see the number 1T?
We asked them that. That was a concern, and they said yes. The number 1T, I think, is,
You can
Up
see,
here.
you
To the
can see it
right.
right there, yeah. Yeah, there should be visibility there.
and 10 is here.
That
'Cause we
little
made the
curve
loop
right there
front.
is the first tee.
It was back towards the parking lot further, and there was concern there.
He drew a straight line from the top right corner of that building over to the first tee.
Well, this won't be exact. Your final construction plans will, take care of that.
Yeah, they know that we want sight to the first tee and the 10th.
And a bag drop at the back of the building.
I had a concern about the turning, coming in and making that sharp left turn to drop your bags off, and I didn't know. I mean, we're not to the stage yet. There you go. But, there should be some type of turning template that the architect or the engineer uses to make sure you can get in there safely. But, I mean, they need to work that out at next step, I guess.
Yeah, he didn't provide us one with the bag drop on it. His original, the one he was working on had it on, but these don't.
Well, I mean, well, it looks like it's set up for it
He had kind of a circle on his original plan.
Yeah, so I would think the bag drop would be in here.
on this plan. It should,
Mhm.
well, like I said, this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and this isn't gonna, this'll be gone, so they'll have more that they can work with. They wanna have like a loop or something.
Okay.
Right.
So there's a meeting tomorrow? Okay, again, all right. And then report for us in 3 or 4 weeks, right?
Oh, and the grade, they talked about the grade because of the way Dave actually mentioned shifting the building. Because you would enter in the back and I guess the grade, there's a 4-foot drop from the back to the front of the building. And if we had it, you'd call it north to south instead of tilted, there would have been accommodations we would have had to make. And now we don't have to do that with this layout.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Any thoughts from the group about exterior finishes? Do you want something metal? Do you want something with stone, with some brick? What kind of roofing did you have in mind?
I mean, I would recommend just metal.
Metal on the exterior or metal roof?
Exterior and roof.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you can, you know, you can, I was talking with Dave, or, yeah, Dave about it too, like, kind of would need township feedback on that too. Like, do you want it to match rec center? Do you want it to match I guess there's really no match to the original building, but
There really isn't. It's they're
different
not gonna
things that
be-
we're gonna be doing, like, I don't know exactly what the ball fields stand's gonna look like. Do we want it to kind of look all the same?
You're not gonna change the banquet facility, which is right.
Well,
next
no,
to
but
it.
I mean, you could always repaint that. I mean, but, you know, I mean, anything that we're building new, if we want to kind of keep it similar,
Cohesive,
yeah.
The blue collar building is a concrete block building.
yes.
Okay.
Well, isn't it some stucco too?
The side that's gonna be exposed will be concrete.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. It is stucco on the
There's some
the
stucco. I
other
mean,
side.
I would think we would
But
just,
it's actually driving,
Yeah.
yeah.
we don't want to use that.
Unless you do it right, you know? No, but the backside there facing the first tee, that was driving because we had troubles years back with
You know,
that.
I think just something to keep, something in common with the building that's there would be fine with, I mean, I like a metal roof. I would think that from a interior design, you're going to have an open feeling with this arc roof, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, the pro shop will be open to the ceiling and then the offices will be lower ceilings.
In that where it says sim room, we had just talked about not necessarily putting a simulator in there, but making sure that the room would be ready for that if we decided to do that at some point. So we don't have to go back and do more construction, that the room would, you know, as far as like the height is concerned, the spacing. So if we wanted to use it for that, for, you know, lessons or something, you know, if we're building something from scratch, we have the space. Might as well have that as an option.
I actually have that note down here about, space for a simulator,
Yeah.
possible simulator.
It's got to be multi-function because the leagues use that for their meetings and stuff. You need a room where they can get their committees in.
I guess, and I'm not throwing cold water on the offices, but I'm thinking rather than building offices, having 3 build-out offices, how about something a little more flexible? Maybe we could use partitions inside. I mean, certainly Jim needs an office, but after that, I think you may need some extra space for someone to work from time to time, but maybe perhaps that could be accommodated with that, just something to think about.
I think we really need to rely on staff to determine what their needs are and what they feel is best. Because they're gonna be the people that are gonna live inside that building, and I think we should rely on what Jim and his people come up with as far as what the uses are gonna be. Certainly, there's enough flexibility in there that we could always convert something to something else if we needed to.
And the storage spaces are rather large, which we
Storage space got
discussed.
small- The storage space got smaller,
Yeah.
because when we were looking during the meeting, the comment was made that the storage space was too big for what they thought was really needed, so it has shrunk,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
But the architect said the mechanical room, however much space you give them, they're going to use for like the HVAC and plumbing and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, and Jim's counter space is probably gonna be in this area. So it's gonna be considerably smaller. He's gonna probably have a display area here this whole area here would be available for flex use as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2,400 square foot is decent sized pro shop.
Yeah, no, he's not gonna use it for all that.
Where you had your cursor, that's looking out onto the golf course, right?
Up there, yeah.
Their,
Yeah,
their
one
door,
would be in
their
this
exit,
direction,
yeah.
10 would be in this direction. And the banquet's over here.
I like it. Let's see what
That's
see
the
what
same-
tomorrow brings, and
Okay.
then we know our marching orders for the next step.
All right, sounds good. Maintenance facility, anything to report on that?
No.
Okay. Um, let's take a look at the budget to actual reports for September. Looks like we had a little bit of a soft month from a revenue standpoint.
True.
So as I look at this report, we haven't transferred any money to the employee benefits. We didn't transfer any money, or we didn't make any payments to the township.
Are you looking at the general?
Mhm.
I think this happened last year, early on in the year. I asked that question myself last year.
I know you have an invoice for tonight to pay that. I don't know off the top of my head if that's for 2 months or not. But yes, that's what you're.
I think it was 45,000 is what the, okay.
This runs to the end of June. You should see that, but you know, you don't.
Yeah, I see that payment on the invoices payable. Through February, though, 48,855.57. Any questions about the budget to actual report from anyone? Okay, and then on the capital reserve. We have 533,006 in the reserve that's available. It's a good number. And then I assume we have 50,182 in our checking account as of the end of the month of January. The way that looks.
You have it in your general fund, you have 50,000, yes, and
50,000 there.
the
yeah.
reserve has 233,000. And then you have 2 CDs.
2 CDs. So when I look at the report that says ending 131, budget to actual, shouldn't that dovetail with the first report that we have? This is some
First
kind,
report. I'm not sure which report you're looking at.
it's titled East Hempfield Town Recreation Authority Budget to Actual, period 1/25. And it's 1/31/2025. It lists interest earnings of 1,044, it lists revenue in January from our tenants at 9,875. And we show a golf equipment loan payable of 142,812. So so this is the capital reserve, right?
I can't answer that question for you.
Yeah, at the very top, it says capital reserve, yeah. On the left side there. Or unless that's,
Yeah, where there's
unless
no-
that's the line item and it's not showing there, so we're just showing in and out.
Your trial balance shows what you have as a 131, but it also includes your starting cash. Whereas your budget to actual doesn't have starting cash. It's just, your line items.
Okay.
So you're missing your starting cash.
I guess as far as these reports are concerned, I guess the only, my only question about this is we have a $142,000 lease payment that we have to make, right?
Correct.
And I believe, is that the last lease payment that we have?
I'm pretty sure it is this year's, yes,
Okay.
for the golf course. Or the,
And we make, typically, when do we make that? I mean, you recollect when we did this last time?
fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter. Can we save any money by paying it in the first quarter? I know it's a lease, but can we, if we pay it early, can we get, it
Good
seems
question.
like we have the money. Why wouldn't we pay it?
I'll have Gina check that out.
All right. Thank you. That'd be great. Any comments from anyone else? The, you know, golf, needless to say, January was very cold and obviously impacted our golf operation significantly. Only about $7,000 in revenue came in. So hopefully that'll pick up. Any comment on the financial picture? All right, then we've got cash requirement report. Payouts for the month of February of 72,992. Any comment on that? All right, with that, I'll hear a motion to pay our invoices detailed in the cash requirement report from today, ending 2/26, totaling 72,992.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lounsbury, a second from Mr. Enoch. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Next up, we have an audit engagement letter for our annual audit. Anyone have any questions on this? All right. I guess two quick questions on the audit, on the town, these people do our township audit, right?
Correct.
Yeah. What do they charge us for the township audit, ballpark?
I want to say 30, mid-30s. 30,000.
Okay. I recognize there's a lot that goes into an audit. But we're a organization that generates about $1.5 million to $1.6 million, $1.7 million in revenue. It's a very consistent type of business. We do the same thing year after year. Are we required to have an audit every year?
No,
Okay.
but I
think-
don't know that you'd want to go down that road.
Okay, well, I guess my feeling is, I think $13,600 is a lot for an audit for, on a company or a business our size.
Bob, do you recall what the IDA's audit was? 16,000? No?
No, we just got an estimate. Well, you know, we just got an
I
estimate.
can't remember what it was.
A little under 7,000.
7,000. And that's very simple.
Yeah.
Very few transactions.
Yes.
Okay,
Same company.
fair number.
An increase? Is
Fair,
this an increase from
well,
23 or?
I couldn't tell you. That's a Gina question.
Okay.
I don't know that we ever had one because we
We had one last year
did.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
Yeah.
for 23. This would be for 24.
It was complicated last year too, because that was when we moved all the money from the township over to the rec authority as
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah.
to reconcile all
Yep,
that.
yep.
We paid a little bit extra, couple thousand extra to get it set up.
Okay. Made my comment, seems like a lot.
It's a little late to change it now. You know, in the local government process, I think it, you know, if you question it, you know, you maybe want to look around this year for other auditors or other, you know.
The
RFP.
township would have to, is going to look around next year for a 2025 audit because our contract or our agreement is up.
Well,
So
maybe-
we'll
Well,
tag this
I'm
along.
not saying move the township, I'm just saying,
But add it to it,
Add it to
add
it.
it to the RFP.
oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, well, I made the comment, that's all. I just think it's a lot, but I'm not gonna, personally, not gonna oppose it. Just a comment. Anything from anyone else? Okay. Hearing nothing additional from the board, I'll hear a motion to approve the engagement of SEK to audit the Recreation Authority documents, financial documents for 2025. I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. I hear a motion from Mr. Trump. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Bob? Yeah, okay. Motion from Mr. Trump, second from Mr. Krimmel. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have Easy Pay banking process with FNB. Cynthia?
Cindy.
Sorry, I know that, and we've had that discussion too.
This is something that the board, the supervisors discussed at their last meeting. It's something that Gina is promoting. It's a easy pay process through FNB Bank where the bank will seek out our vendors and ask them and encourage them to sign up for either a virtual credit card, an ACH transfer, or then at the least possible thing would be a bank mailed check. This would eliminate the need to sign checks at every meeting. There is fees involved. But the offset would be anyone using the virtual credit card would get we would get a 1% rebate. If you're interested in something like this, that's fine. I'd probably hold off making the decision. I need to understand better the back end and how that works with our financial package. Because that list of checks and invoices needs to go to the bank and then come get paid. And then us needs to come back into our Cassell system, which is our financial system. And it has to work very smoothly, and I'm not sure how that works yet. So know that it's out there, that we're thinking about it. I don't see this in place by next month.
And what would be the approval process from us?
You would
On the
take
pa-
the,
Cash
Cash requirements
requirements? We make a
and-
motion and then we tell the bank they can move forward.
correct. And as far as the auditors are concerned, that cash requirement would be signed by 2 signatories.
Do you have a sense of what kind of fees we're talking about from the bank?
They made it look very positive because a lot of people use a virtual card. I'm not so sure about that. There is a monthly fee for ACH and a monthly fee for the credit card.
I think it might be a good idea to ask them, they're gonna have an idea, you know, what we're gonna do over the year as far as number of checks we write and how much money's coming in and going out. I think before we make a decision, we really ought to have some idea about what, you know, what kind of fees we're talking about.
And I also asked the question to Gina, the fees that were quoted for the township, does the rec authority fall underneath those fees? Which would be then very attractive to the rec authority. Because you're right, we don't have that many. It's once a month. But there is some security improvements that happen without, we don't mail checks anymore. And we're having more and more problems with the postal service getting things to where they're supposed to be getting to. And that would take that away.
Cindy, is
So-
this a form of positive pay too?
It's an additional to positive pay,
Yeah, it's addition?
in addition to, yes.
Okay. But there are fees. You might want to see,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it could be like 6 cents per transaction versus some other things. So
Yeah, it's like 50 cents per transaction.
I hope it's not that high.
It is. And again, the
For the
rebate,
township too.
yes, yes. They make it look positive because of the rebates. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people taking the virtual credit card option. I think most will be ACH, which then means the monthly fees that we have to pay, which are, I think, $200 and $500. One for ACH, one for the virtual card would continue, and there's not going to be as much offset. So we still have to investigate it a little further. It sounds like a great idea, but the fees just, I don't know.
I think you're right.
Mhm.
We did get a presentation from Gina.
We did, yes.
Maybe you could forward that on.
I will do that, yes.
To the board members. You know, it does look like a more efficient way to handle finances, but again, because we don't issue that many checks, it may not save us much in the long run. But obviously, on the township side, we're looking at labor saving in-house, generating checks, cost of mailing, and that kind of thing. But again, we'll table this for us
Good, yes.
this month, and then we'll keep it on the agenda for next month and maybe get an update. In the meantime, you all get a presentation from Cindy on this proposal. Okay?
Mhm.
All right. Next up, old business. Golf operations update. We got any, that's John. Is that the assistant?
Yeah, I can give an update. There's two new things going on at the course going into the season. We did partner up with with Blue Collar to do a 9 and dine this year, which is going to be the last Friday of every month starting in April. So players will go out and play 9 holes. It's kind of a couples event, but it can be pretty much anybody. And then you'll go up to Blue Collar and have dinner. And we worked that out with Rob and Kevin. So that's something that's new. And then also the Hempfield Rec is actually starting a league this year on Monday nights at our course, which we thought was really good for the community, as well as pretty much every night during the week we do have a league. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're preparing for tournament season and all of our leagues, honestly, from pretty much Monday through Friday. There's not real opportunities for public play to come out because we're filling up pretty good this year. So
Awesome. I think there are two great ideas there. We do have a retirement at the golf course, right, Ricky?
Yes, Ricky Winter is retiring as of the 28th. He's been with the golf facility for the whole time. He, good employee. He was Don's third person out there on maintenance. So it's Don, Brian, and Ricky. We have, or we will be moving over Charlie Hess, who is now currently a Public Works employee. He did at one point work at the golf course, but he's going back over. And he's going on limited time in terms of 32 hours a week instead of full-time at 40.
Okay.
He has some medical issues that it suits him better to be at the golf course. He has a pesticide license, so he would be of value to the golf course.
All right, good. So we got that spot covered.
Yes.
All right, good. Excellent. Okay. Okay, John, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, goals and objectives for the golf course.
Before we jump there, just to let
Sure.
you know, Don just told me that some of the bridges that are on the golf course need repairs. There are, I believe, 9 bridges. He gave me a quote of really $700 to $800 each. So that's going to be part of your 2026 budget, but just to know that there are, need to have repairs there. And he's going to do probably about half a year or half every year for 2 years.
So nothing impacting this budget year?
Nothing this season. He said they're fine for this season, but
Okay.
they are showing wear. And also in terms of improvements or things going on at the golf course, we did have a problem with the roof across Blue Collar. For whatever reason, we don't understand, but the roof had like 13 slits in it, which caused some severe damage to Blue Collar over the Super Bowl weekend. So we had roofers on there the following Monday. They found 13 slices in it. They don't know how. They've been repaired, but it's going to cost us some dollars to make those repairs.
So we don't have any insurance for that?
Not unless we know what it is. No, I mean, I don't know if it was weather, somebody was up there walking around. We don't know. We don't have, it's not warranted anymore. And they were up in the fall, the same company showed us a report and noted that there was no problems. And then over the winter, this is what happened.
And those that went up and looked at it to do the repair now had like not an idea that it was sticks debris, something that blew up there.
No. And it was the same company that we used in the fall, so.
Ice freezing and melting or anything like that?
I mean, all that could be covered by insurance, but I mean, if repairs are only $2,500, the deductible might be $5,000, you know?
How much were the repairs?
I don't know. I'd have to check. I don't know that we got the bill yet.
Has the repair been made?
Yes, it was made that Monday,
You know,
Tuesday.
people can get on that roof pretty easily. I'm not gonna say a whole lot, but we have experience with vandalism. I don't know if that was considered or not.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we may want to put cameras up there if this
If
continues.
it happened again, I'd consider it.
Yeah.
So, and what part of Blue Collar was damaged?
The kitchen area above the safe, which is the hallway leading from the loading dock into the kitchen, their pizza oven area, and the hallway and where the brick is. There was water running down the brick in the kitchen, or not the restaurant. He was not too happy.
Aside from that, do we have any other anticipated expenses from Blue Collar? I think we talked about a $100,000 hood that they were needing or something. Is there anything on the inside that, just when we're looking at cash flow needed, that we need to anticipate maybe?
They haven't said anything lately about it. I don't know if they resolved it themselves. And there was also the issue of the tiling in the kitchen coming up. Again, didn't mention anything.
Hmm.
Okay, well. Hopefully it's not going to be too costly, but it is what it is. Okay. Anything else? All right, goals and objectives. We've been skipping over this for quite a few meetings. And I just like to maybe sort of focus in on it tonight very briefly, take 5 minutes and go down the list that is here. And if anyone has any comments on the objectives. Improve golf course operations. I think that's a continual process and you know, I think generally it's been going very well. Second objective is using the lot and land bordering Stony Battery Road and Church for the betterment of the community. And I think that's what we're keeping in mind in terms of, you know, how we'll develop it, you know, down the road. Again, we've started the process on that by rezoning the land in the front of the building. And now we're at a point where we've got, you know, 2 tracks. The utility shed does put a little bit of a brakes on things, but you know, at some point we want to get that going. Provide additional recreation opportunities for residents, golf and non-golf related. Utilize the golf course to enhance stormwater management within the township. And I think that's been done now with what's going on off of Nisley Road, the Nisley track, sort of on the edge of the golf course, but you know, it'll really help things. And then from an organizational objective, you know, I'd like to establish a golf operations group with 3 members. That's something I think I talked to Ryan about. But I'd like those three individuals on this would be responsible for working with Jim and, you know, looking down the road, strategic planning and development group, working in those areas. Anyone have any thoughts about that? Anyone want to volunteer for that?
I will.
Doug?
Yeah, be glad to.
Okay.
Golf group.
I will as well.
Okay. Ryan
You need a third one, you can put me down.
and John? Okay. All right. And then again, just some things to think about, you know, develop a master plan for the Stony Battery Church Street track. Do we have a master plan, Cindy? We do. Okay.
Not for Stony, no, we don't.
We don't.
That's the rezoned area.
Do you think we should?
No,
Not yet?
no, I mean, your master plan is going to be based on what you want to put there and that is dictated by market. I don't know how you would do a master plan unless you're not doing a commercial type of use.
Do we just have the plans showing the rezoning and maybe square footage or whatever that would show?
We have that, yes.
Okay.
We also have that illustration of the commercial property that we looked at
We have a
Last-
bunch of sketches.
last year or the year before.
Okay, well, maybe we don't need a master plan, but we need some kind of a plan for what's going to go there, you know, whether we're going to put in a pitch and putt course or a you know, a little retail strip mall type thing.
Wasn't one of the goals we talked about was to try to maximize the revenue from the tract? Maybe not develop the full tract for commercial, whatever. So I could see where there could be a dual use for that tract, where part of it might contribute some recreational benefit. But the real goal, as I remember with this authority, was to generate revenue, as much revenue as we can. And if that's the goal, then I think it really, we have to wait and see what kind of proposals we get from a potential party that wants to lease the track or part of it. So I'm not sure the decision about what actually gets built there is entirely in our hands, Tom. It's gonna depend on what the developer decides he wants to do. And there would also be some need from the township, from a zoning and from a planning standpoint, to see what could be done there.
Well, I think it's zone community business.
Right.
And I think even within community business, there is a recreation component to it from my best recollection. You know, and I agree with you that, you know, the plan is to use this for the financial benefit of the community, you know, taking the pressure off the golf course. But there's also a component of this, I think, there should be a component of this that takes into consideration a recreational need also. Maybe, you know, maybe it doesn't get developed. You know, I don't know. But I think it's something that we should begin to think about.
We did have that public meeting where we had a handful of people, you know, when we were looking at what to do there, and we did get a number of suggestions, and I believe a couple of the public comments was not necessarily putting in something, but to have it, I mean, there's all sorts of ideas that were thrown around, but
Right.
have something that it's not necessarily a revenue generating property, but it could be something that more people in the township would be able to use. You know, whether it's, you know, people talked about pickleball, they talked about mini golf course, they talked about, you know, a dream park like they have out here, something like that. I think it all just depends on what we want to do with it.
Okay. Well, that'll be all part of the golf operations group in conjunction with the lease and real estate group.
Yeah.
You know, let me back you up a minute.
Mhm.
Going back as far as I do, you know, the reason we created a recreation authority pretty much was to manage that land over there, make the golf course profitable and generate revenue.
Mhm.
It can change, but in my mind, that was the essence of creating this body. And I think somewhere it has to have a component of revenue.
Mhm.
A public facility or courts or whatever, that's fine. But, you know, unless it's run by maybe the Hempfield Rec where you charge membership or something, you know, I don't know how you're going to get revenue out of a what'd you say, a putt-putt course.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make money anymore. I mean, you have to have a unique situation. So I just want to remind you why we were created. Tom, you were on the board, weren't you, when we
Yeah.
created this?
Yeah, and you're right, and it's always been that's always been my focus, but you know, I'm not opposed to the land that has been rezoned to be used for recreation purpose. I mean, if the recreation authority, if they came to us and said, hey, we need that space there in the corner to expand in some way, maybe not, you know, in some way.
Yeah.
I'm personally open to that, even though it would eliminate a revenue generating
Space.
piece of the.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said, you know, that can be a component, but I just want to remind you why we were created, that I just feel some revenue needs to be generated from that.
Okay. Well, that'll be the piece of,
And some of that revenue though was, or reason that we were created was to relieve the golf course, or let's call that property, was on the township. We've accomplished that goal. So I guess my mindset wouldn't necessarily be reach for the stars and get the most amount of revenue to not benefit the community as much, let's say. I mean, we've done our job to get there, and I think we're establishing good grounds to keep that revenue stream coming in through the future, but I don't want to lose sight of keeping it still recreational land as well, you know.
Well,
Just
the
for
other,
the dollar.
the other thing I would bring up is that to do what we want to do, move the maintenance shed, is going to take a lot of money.
Mhm.
You know, and I know the golf course, thank goodness, is finally making money, but is it enough to cover those costs? I just think it's a puzzle that has a lot of pieces, and it's got to contain, you know, some of the ones we've mentioned here tonight.
Well, I agree. I think we have to, we have to move the maintenance shed. That's the first step in this whole process. Okay? When we do it, how we do it, how much it's gonna cost, where we're gonna relocate. I mean, we've got some ideas floating around out there, but that's really the first step in this whole development process. So we'll have to, we are working on it slowly, I think, right? GSL,
ESL, yes.
we're not, have we heard anything new?
I did have a conversation with him on Monday. They said that my suggested changes to define the term are acceptable to them. I have not seen a revised agreement yet. Now, they did tell me that the RCAP funding has not been opened, so there's plenty of time.
Okay,
And it is bonds that the state issues, so there's no federal ties.
okay.
Although the state's probably hurting for some funding from the federal, so maybe they won't do it this year, who knows?
Well, we gotta get in line, right?
Yes,
And we're going for a big number.
yes,
And if we get a big number, and we're able to manage through the process properly, there'll be enough there to move the maintenance shed to the sod farm track and then go from there. So, well, that's good news on the making progress there.
slow, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, good discussion. Anything else?
I just, to piggyback on Dan's point, I think the success of all the endeavors that we have going now has given us the flexibility to do what we want to do with that lot. I think we're pretty far from where we started, where we wanted to put a Sheetz in or a gas station there, and that's not necessarily what is our only option now. We have a lot more options that we can explore and decide what we want to do with that lot.
I agree. I'd also suggest that we should give some thought to, where the driving range is. There's a lot of space there that, we haven't even really thought about,
Mhm.
or don't think much about. Just sort of sits there. We can park some cars on it when there's an overload in the parking area. But I think that can be, that's something that we need to look at too. Okay. All right. So now we'll have three committees. We'll have a lease negotiating and real estate committee. We'll have a finance and operations committee. And that's, when we say operations, that's overall operations. And then we'll have a group, a 3-member golf operation committee that will work directly with Jim and, again, set some long-term and short-term plans. And if you can, if you guys could come up with maybe 2 objectives in each area, things to be working towards, that would be great. And then we can talk about it when we convene our next meeting in March. Anything else? All right. Okay, next up, new business. Do we have any new business tonight to talk about? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of our previous meeting, January 22nd, 2025. Any questions or comments on those meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none, I'll hear a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2025 East Hempfield Recreation Authority minutes
I'll make the motion.
Okay, here, motion from Mr. Lounsbury. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second from Mr. Rhodes or
me.
Mr. Lundy? Motion from Mr. Lounsbury, a second from Mr. Lundy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. And I'm only going to be able to take a vote from Lundy, Bennett, Enoch, and Lounsbury. Dan, you were missing, and Bob, you were missing, and
Doug wasn't.
Doug, you were here in spirit. Okay. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. All right, guys, thank you. Anything else tonight? All right, thank you for your contribution. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.